You're sitting around wondering what consciousness is. All right, let's talk about that. This is Narratively Speaking. I'm Harv. Today we're talking about consciousness. And let me first start by saying I do not say that I know what consciousness is. And I certainly don't claim to have an all-encompassing definition for it. I'm just a guy who's decided to start wearing a beanie at the beginning of summer. Take it all with a grain of salt is what I'm saying. But I think of human consciousness in a kind of peculiar way. I have a brain that thinks in pictorial terms. So I have this diagrammatic view of how the brain works and how consciousness works. And in my opinion, from observing my own thoughts and the behavior of others, and of course reading other people's thoughts, which I can totally do, I've come up with this theory that the brain is kind of like an onion. I know I sound like Shrek. I remember I saw a documentary by Ben Stewart called Chymatica. And if you haven't seen it, definitely worth checking out. Toward the beginning of the film, Ben Stewart states that an embryo going through the phases of development in the womb actually mirrors the phases of evolution, as in starting off as a single cell and then evolving as a sea creature and then growing limbs and crawling out onto the land in a reptilian form, and then, of course, becoming a mammal, and then human, and so on. And I kind of think about the brain in the same way. As we've gone through our conscious evolution, our brain has grown outwards. So we started off with a small brain where we had, sort of a lizard-like survival-only type mechanism. So that's sort of the hypothalamus and the limbic system, and then the brain, as it grows in intelligence and consciousness, expands outwards, with the outer layers being the more conscious, thoughtful layers that we experience on a day-to-day basis. But the previous parts of the brain did not stop functioning, and the communication between them is fuzzy, because if you had a lizard brain, which doesn't speak English, and then you evolve to a brain that thinks in words, obviously those two things can't communicate with each other. That's kind of what dreams are. I think the brain's attempt to consolidate knowledge across all the different systems. This is just my conception of how my brain works. And I do put it into play. So sometimes, for instance, I'll know there's a problem in my body somewhere because I can feel it, and I'll send my immune system towards that area of the body. And I do that by thinking in pictures so that my subconscious will be able to go and respond. And I find it works. I guess it's kind of a form of meditation, although I don't really meditate to do it. The thing to recognize, I think, about your brain is that the thing in the center, that lizard brain, the survival instinct, that, if you were to think of it as a person, a conscious person, would be a scared, nervous, angry little prick. And as your conscious brain, which is where you most likely live in your head, you need to kind of bully that brain a little bit. You need to master it. It doesn't know what it's doing. It can't think as clearly as you can. Kind of like when it's too hard to explain to a kid why they shouldn't pull down a guy's tracksuit pants in the supermarket. You kind of just have to say, listen, mate, trust me. If you do that, you will have a bad time in the world. And I think of the brain a little bit like that. Anyway, again, this is just thought of the day. If that made you think, or if you think it might make you think in the future, click the like button for me. It helps with the algorithm and all that. Subscribe. I've got no subscribers right now. It's quite depressing. So please do. It's just a click of a button. And I'll see you in the next one. Wow, what a weird video this one was.